Well, hello, everybody that happens to be watching. I want to welcome a wonderful client that I have, Elizabeth Thorson, who happens to be a registered nurse and a medical intuitive. It's not every day that I get to work with somebody that number one knows medicine and number two completely understands the whole world of intuition and the woo side of the science that I practice. So, welcome, Elizabeth. Thank you so
Right.
much for having a little chat online with me. First off, I just wanted to ask you at the very beginning, what brought you to seek out me in energy medicine?
Well, first of all, you have a tremendous background, including your PhD in the world of energy medicine. I totally support it. I totally believe in it. And you and I had connected about a year ago with another new platform that you were working with, and I was very impressed with that platform. I don't remember exactly the name of it. It had to do with voice and picking. I don't remember what it is. You'll have to speak to that because I don't remember.
Yes, quantum biofeedback is
Thank
the
you.
general umbrella for that.
Okay, great. And that's kind of where we started. So I knew that that technology existed and you had it. And then I went on to, I've been having trouble with chronic inflammation in my hips. And I knew you had new modalities, the PEMF that you were working with. And I know people who've used PEMF. I have family members who've used it post-op or healing. So I'm like, let's just give this a try.
And for those that might not know what PEMF is, it's pulsed electromagnetic frequencies, and it's probably the most powerful way to deliver frequency and vibration as medicine. So that is awesome. And let me just ask you, going back to when you mentioned the voice analysis,
Mm.
only because unlike any other client, normally I do a voice analysis and people kind of, they know how they're feeling or they know what they're dealing with and then they see the results. But I think with you, it's even stronger because you can look at the results and intuitively feel like it probably was right on or it was way off. So obviously you must have thought, wow, right?
Yes, I did. I absolutely did. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's so good to hear. And I'm sure that there's going to be lots of interested people out there that are going to think more highly of it just based on the fact that you have these credentials behind you.
Mm.
Awesome. So the problems you were trying to solve, I guess you already touched on some of that. So then the first impression of your first treatment. Let's talk about the My Health device, which of course nobody's going to know what a My Health device is, but
Mhm.
it's this little, it's part of the energy for wellness system. And it's I don't want to throw it around a lot of big terms, but it's microcurrent and it's biomodulation. Basically, it's energy that this device reads the information coming from your skin, and
Mhm.
then it adjusts how much energy, what kind of frequencies to go back in. And Elizabeth and I worked for probably a month or 2 months on a chronic condition. So why don't we just talk about that a little bit, about
Sure.
what was your impression of this crazy little, and I'm sorry I don't have it with me to show people, but what did
Yeah.
you think of that whole thing?
Of course, I always go into anything new with my skeptical side and my logical side and my intuitive side. So I've got three pieces of all working at the same time. And because we had such a positive experience back when we first started working together, I was all open to this. And I'm like, let's just see what this does, because this has been a chronic problem and certainly has impacted my life significantly. And I was like ready to be done with this. So if that takes care of it, absolutely, that's the way I'm going. In fact, at one point, I was even considering purchasing the device for home care. I think if you remember that.
That's right. I do remember that.
Right. And so when we started working, we fortunately we kept records, we kept documentation. I was sort of writing upside down to see what was happening because we were dealing with two sides, and the two sides were very different in terms of how they responded, what kind of energy they took. And as we went from week to week to week over the course of 2 months, we could clearly see that there was a change. And my feeling is that the PMF opened up that chronic inflammation. And as a result, when we went on and did some other things and we went back to the voice analysis, because we were, I don't know, I think maybe halfway through, and we're like, did it in the beginning, and it said, yes, chronic pain. No big
Mhm.
surprise. As we went through, we were like halfway through, maybe even more than that. And we said, let's try this again and sort of see where we are. Because things in terms of the frequencies we were using in the hips was not changing appreciably. We're seeing pretty much the same thing week to week, but no regression. Things were not getting worse. Things were either getting better or staying the same week to week. It just depended on the week and how hard I put my body through things I put my body through. So then we went and back and did the reanalysis, the voice analysis, and there was no chronic pain.
Isn't that amazing?
It was amazing.
And I want to touch on 2 points for that. One, this is the perfect example of one size fits all medicine, not having one size fits all medicine, because we were working on your left hip and your right hip. Now, mainstream medicine usually says, oh, there's pain in the hips, it's rheumatoid arthritis, and they're just going to treat based on that. But you have to treat based on what the energy in the body is saying. And you were one person that two sides were talking different things, and
Yes.
you could have emotions stuck on one side of your body, not on the other. So that is just amazing right there. And the other thing that you mentioned that I wanted to talk to was, oh, it's kind of funny. You mentioned that you wanted to buy the device and you ultimately didn't buy the device. And I can
Right.
only assume because it worked so well, you didn't need it anymore.
Right, that was true, Paula, because we were due. I don't know whether you were away or something. We had some scheduling challenges, and I just intuitively knew that for this point in time, I was done with PEMF.
Isn't that an amazing,
Yeah.
but before I you make people never want to buy the thing, it's just, to me, it's so comforting to know that I have something at home that I can turn to, because inevitably we're going to trip and fall on the ice, or we're going to hurt ourselves, or we're going to get a stomach ache. Or that's the thing about energy medicine. It literally addresses no matter what's going on in the mind, the body, the spirit. You have something that you can turn to, which is just the most powerful thing. Well, Elizabeth, I cannot thank you enough for this time. I don't want to go too long because I know nobody has an attention span for more than a couple minutes, but with my sincere gratitude.
Oh, one more thing, Paula, I don't have any hip pain.
Amen.
Yes.
And that was a chronic problem for a long time.
Years. It was a chronic inflammation, trochanteritis bursitis. Chronic problem really interfered with my mobility. And we added some other things. I don't know if you want to talk about that, that also helped to shift. It was an energetic piece that we added, and that
Yes.
made a huge, huge shift in the pain. Now, that doesn't mean I don't ever get pain. I get a twinge, but I'm doing 30 minutes of HIIT training a day, 3 miles power walking on the road, 20 minutes of Pilates, and 50 minutes of weight training.
God bless you.
Those hips are so much better. They're like 99.9% better. That's the difference that your work made for me. Huge.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I really hope that you inspire other people to just get curious. Really, that's all I'm asking. Just get curious about frequency and vibrational medicine, because it honestly, it's the best kept secret in in the healthcare world. And to be honest, it's not easy for me to get the word out, because it appears that it's not being welcomed with open arms, at least in this community. But with this technology, hopefully I can find the right people that want to know about it.
But I think it was great. And because I think we both worked intuitively, because we chatted about it. It wasn't like, oh no, Elizabeth, this is the protocol, this is what we're going to do. We chatted about it every time. So it was a joint effort to work
Yes.
through this.
And
Very much
just
so.
to all the people watching this, just know that that's not something that I only did with Elizabeth because she has intuitive skills. I do that with everybody, and I consider myself a partner. When we go to a traditional doctor in a white coat, I feel like we give up our power. You're like, oh, what's wrong with me? And that's the doctor's job. This is what's wrong with you, and this is the pill you need. And that's not my job at all. My job is to strengthen you, not to dwell on what's wrong with you, to feed you with positive energy, with positive thoughts, with motivation and inspiration. And I pride myself on that. So
Right. You should. You should, Paul. Great job for me. So I definitely would recommend exploring all the tools that you have, because I think they all have a place.
oh, great. Well, I hope you have lots of time because I got lots of tools. And
That's
maybe we can do another one of these someday after I introduce you to more.
sure,
It
but
sounds like we need
that's where I would go, Paula. That's where I would go back to.
great. Well, it sounds to me like the Quantum Discovery Day that I have been planning to have here in Rockland, Maine. Maybe it's going to become a reality just so that I can show and tell and give people a way to come to my home and feel, experience all the different toys I have. All right, I'm
Absolutely.
going to get on that. Stay tuned, everybody in Maine. I will get on that before Christmas, I promise.